Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to the webinar hosted by the Society of Southwest Archivists. Uh, the webinar title is Becoming a Certified Archivist, Preparation for the Exam. My name is Ada Negraru and I'm a member of the Professional Development Committee, and I am joined here today by my colleague Natalie Idem, also a member of the PDC committee, as well as Gina Nichols, who works at the US Navy Sea Museum and is the Regent for Examination Administration at the Academy of Certified Archivists, and Dina Mazina, who works at the Library of Congress and is the Regent for Outreach. And they are going to tell you all about the ACA exam.
All right.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to share the screen, then let Dina get started.
All right. Hi, everyone. So we're Dina and Gina, and we're here to talk about ACA and kind of what it means as an organization and what you can expect with the exam. Do you want to go to the next slide?
There we go.
So just a very brief history. ACA was created in 1989 at the annual meeting of the Society of American Archivists. It came out of some early discussions that members were having on certification and archival practice standards within the archivist community. The certification maintenance program was approved in 1992, and that allowed for a standard way for archivists to maintain their certification and show that they're still active members and still up to date with all of their qualifications. So the biggest change, and we're going to talk about this during this presentation, in February of 2024, the ACA board voted to establish the new Pathways to Membership Task Force to examine, develop, and provide recommendations for applicants seeking to qualify for the ACA exam and become certified archivists. So we had this program aimed at kind of re reevaluating, looking at the community again, and seeing if there wasn't a more inclusive way for us to determine who could be a certified archivist and who could be a member of this community. Next slide. Oh, thank you. Previous slide, I think. Yeah. No, I was right the first time.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so all pathways lead to ACA. That's kind of our new slogan right now. Regarding the Pathways program. So previously, in order to sit for the CA exam, a candidate must have completed a master's degree and worked a number of years in the archival position. There were some exemptions made for recent grads who could take the exam and receive a provisional status if they passed the exam successfully. So after some extensive research, reports, and discussions regarding how certification qualification can better align with the ACA mission, the board unanimously voted to remove all educational and work requirements to qualify for the examination. So essentially, if you want to sit for the exam, you can. So I'm going to talk about the pillars, the three pillars that we talk about in ACA about and being a certified archivist, and Gina will talk about this as well. So first pillar is education and knowledge. That's passing the exam. The second pillar is community, and that's being an active member and participating in the community of certified archivists. And the third is continued engagement and growth. So that is the recertification process and the maintenance process and professional involvement. The Pathways program supports these pillars by acknowledging that achieving success in these areas is not dependent on a degree or a job title. So to be successful in these areas as a certified archivist, we understand that you don't need to have a job title that says archivist. You don't need to have an MLS or any particular degree. You can just fulfill each of those pillars. Next slide. So the first pillar, knowledge and education. And the main part of this is the exam, which Gina is going to discuss in more detail later. And that's meant to establish a baseline of expertise and understanding in all the major categories that we see as being part of the archival practice. We encourage candidates to form study groups and pace themselves in the process of exam preparation. I want to stress that this is an intensive and serious exam. When I took a year of consistently studying. I think I did a little bit of studying probably every week for about a year. So took it really, really quite seriously. Through the exam, ACA is able to show that all certified archivists are knowledgeable in the current archival theory and practice concepts that define what it means to be an archival professional. Next slide. Okay, community. So this connects us as members. It's about active membership and participation in ACA. And being a supportive group of professionals, we have meetups and virtual salons, and we really encourage folks to discuss and share on their successes and their challenges in the field and really find ways to support each other. So being a member in good standing indicates that you have access to this pool of knowledge and expertise that other CAs can provide for you, and that you participate by sharing your experience and expertise with others to help grow and support that community. Next slide. Continued engagement and growth. So at ACA, we believe that community engagement and professional involvement makes us better archivists by supporting the field and staying current on the standards and best practices. The certification maintenance process really encourages this, and we try to credit all kinds of community participation and involvement, which includes memberships in other organizations, including this one, including SAA, including things like Nagara, if you're a part of that, going to any of these conferences, participating in panels, and volunteering at archival events. And that's just a couple of examples. Being a CA means that, could you go back one? Thank you. Being a CA means that not only do you possess a foundational knowledge baseline in the archival field, but you're really firmly rooted in that professional community of practicing archivists, and you prioritize professional development to stay on top of all the academic theory and knowledge that comes our way. You're really showing everyone that as a certified archivist, you have a deep commitment to professional development, to your own and to that of others. Next slide. So I didn't feel like a real archivist until I became a CA. That anonymous CA was a close friend of mine who told me that. Just a couple of months ago when we were talking about ACA and why we decided to become certified archivists. So really, why do you want to become a CA? I think it's because it demonstrates that you have a standard of practice, you're dedicated to the field, you're continuing to participate, and you're involved in professional development. You really take not only the job you have, but being a member in this field very seriously. And for me, my answer was that for a very long time, the kind of work I did as an archivist didn't match what a lot of kind of archivists had traditionally done. And my friend who contributed this quote had a very similar job to me. That's actually how we met. And I felt very similarly to her that becoming a CA meant I could call myself an archivist no matter what my job title was, no matter what kinds of projects I was doing at the time, because I knew that I had a standard baseline in archival science. I possess these skills and knowledge, and that's what makes me an archivist. And I can do all these different tasks and have these different skills, even if I'm not necessarily doing them as part of whatever project I'm on at the moment. And I think especially as the landscape of archives work changes in the last few years and in the future, this can be a really good asset to have to kind of know that you've got the basic foundation, you're involved in the community, and you're keeping abreast of everything that's happening and developing. So, and I think that's my last slide, so I'll turn it over to Gina.
Okay. Well, everybody, welcome for coming. As I said, my name is Gina Nichols. I am the Regent for Exam Administration for the Academy of Certified Archivists. I'm going to kind of give you a little rundown of the exam and how to study and kind of how we revamped it, as Dina mentioned. We took this year, we looked at the pathways and how to become a certified archivist, and we ended up deciding to take away all of the qualifications. So that kind of changed how you take the exam and how you become certified. So right now, what we're doing is we're looking at like how do you become certified, how to get certified. And the first thing you want to do before you decide is, are you ready to take the exam? Obviously, the first step in archival certification is passing the exam. It consists of 100 multiple choice questions organized across 8 domains. And I'll kind of go into each one of this as we go on. The point of the exam is to show your expansive knowledge of the archival field, to demonstrate proficiency in all 8 of the archival domains, and to understand and apply sound archival principles and practices. So even though we've taken the different options and pathways and being provisional and full members out of it and taken away the degree requirement and the time in the professional field, the exam has not changed. We are still maintaining the same standards. We're still writing. The questions will maintain the same standard that we always have. And we continue to follow when they're writing the questions. We have not lowered the standards for the questions at all. Like I said, we removed all of the prerequisites that we had. It was this really weird mixture of education and professional time. And we kind of looked at it and said, you know, if you're qualified to take the exam, if you have been in the profession, whether you came into it because you were in the military and became a records manager and went into it, or you have a BA and you became an archival tech at the National Archives or the National Parks, or you have a master's degree in botany or biology or lawyers, or you manage archivists. As long as you're qualified to take the exam, there shouldn't be barriers to taking the exam. So we wanted to open it up to everybody, to the entire archival community, instead of putting it into, you know, yes, you can take it and no, you can't. And it just discriminated, in my opinion. So we've opened it up to everybody. How to register. So instead of, we used to have an application and then you'd register, and now we have just a registration. It opens up on March 1st and it ends April 30th. What you need to do is go in and create an account in Prelidian. And we'll send all of these links out to everybody later. But the fee to register is $125. And that covers the application, the registration, taking the exam, and then a practice exam. So it covers absolutely everything. The examination dates for next year are June 11th to the 13th. We offer it over 3 days. We have about, it's over 2 solid days. So we start about 6, I'm in the West, so it's 6 a.m. until about 8 p.m. We offer it about every 15 minutes. So you have 3 hours to take the exam. And it, like I said, it's offered multiple times over that 3 days of testing. And I guess you have 3 hours to finish it. ACA used to have them in person. In fact, when I took the exam and passed it, when it was in person, you had to drive someplace or you had to go to SAA in order to take the exam. And so now it's completely online and it's within the Prelidian environment. So as I mentioned before, it's 100 multiple choice questions based on the role delineation statement for professional archivists. So what they've done is ACA went out into the field of professional archivists and they broke it down, the exam, into 8 domains, but they went into each role and they went into each domain and said, what are the core tasks that an archivist needs to do make sure that they are competent and a professional in this field. And we have a role delineation statement online, and it kind of gives you that core bones underneath the exam, because it'll tell you what the archival field, what the professionals in the field believe are the core tasks that archivists should be able to be proficient in order to be certified archivist, in order to create the exam. Like I said, the exam is 3 hours, and the clock starts when you begin your first question, because it's in the Prelidian environment. Some people get nervous because they think the clock starts immediately. It doesn't. It starts the second the first question loads. Most people take about an hour and a half to 2 hours to take the exam, although some do take the full hours. If you ever need accommodations, contact me. I don't want your medical records. This is just an honor system. Just say, hey, I need some extra time. And I did say that was in Prelidian. So kind of a guide to the exam. The examination is proctored by certified archivists. We do it in breakout rooms in Zoom. You will be the only person in that breakout room. It's kind of like having a teacher walk through the classroom. The proctor will come in and out of the room and make sure you're okay. They go in, they get you started, and then they come in and out. But you'll be the only person in that breakout room. Technology, you need to be able to give control of Zoom to the proctor. And a lot of computers, if you're using your works computer, it doesn't allow that. And if you have a Mac, sometimes there's issues, and so you have to hit some stuff. But you need to be able to have a computer that gives where you can give access to the proctor, because they need to go in, put the code in, get you started, and then they give you back control. The other thing is your computer needs to have a camera, and you need to be willing to share your screen, because you have to, in order for the proctor to see what's going on, you have to share your screen. The one thing is, in the Prelidian, you can flag the questions, you can make notes for each of the questions, you can go back and forth, and you can, go back and redo them all, or you can go look at just the ones you flagged. It's a pretty liberal, environment where you can go in and out. The testing starts when you're ready with the proctor, and each question comes up on the page throughout each question. Sometimes people have slow dial-up, and so there's a pause between the question loading, and the clock stops when that happens. So it's not being counted against you while the question's coming up. Like I said, you'll be the only one in the breakout room, and the proctors come in and out. For exam results, they come out about 4 weeks after the final day of the exam. I end up, once the exam is over, the next day we have a psychometrician, and he's the one who evaluates all of the data. So they determine where the scores are based.
What?
The psychometrician. So anyway, so they break it down by high pass, low pass, and fail. And in each domain, what they do is they'll tell you exactly what percentage you scored, how you scored, and how many questions were in each domain, and how many you got correct. They don't tell you exactly what the answer is, but they'll say, hey, you got 57% in domain 1. There were 12 questions asked. So it tells you exactly how well you did and in what areas you did well. The other thing is, not everybody passes every time. I failed it the first time I took it. I thought, oh, I do this for a living, I'll be fine. And I studied, but I didn't study hard enough. Don't worry, people fail all the time. There are people who've been archivists for 20 years who have master's degrees, and they fail the first time they take it. The exam is very nuanced, and what they are, you need to know, the whole point is for best practice. They want to see what does the literature say is the best question, or the best answer. I always tell people, I said, don't look at it as, oh, I'm a lone arranger and I only have a budget of $500, or I'm a university archivist and there's 20 of us here and we have a budget of $75,000. They're not asking you what you would do in that specific situation. They're asking you what's best practice. So in a perfect world with endless money and endless staff, what's the best practice to answer that question? So uh, studying for the exam. So we have on our website how to study for the exam. So suggestions are create a study plan. As Dina said, she spent a year. She kind of broke it down. She made sure she studied every week. Form a study group. Study with others in a group or a local archivist. We do have a question and answer, a Teams channel that we created. You can join that. You can engage with other archivists. Review, read, make flashcards. This year, I'm going to try creating study sessions for each domain and try and get a certified archivist to teach each domain like one every 2 weeks or so. That way, it's you can engaging, and you can talk to each other and talk to the person who's leading it, and it kind of gets you started about which literature you should be reading, and it kind of just help each other out. The reading list is, we have the 2025 reading list up. I talked to the Regent for Exam Development, and she said it's about 95% going to be the same. So that's a really good place to start. Start with the archival fundamentals books. Anything that's open domain, a lot of that, the links on there, they tried to make the questions off of as many public domain open source resources that they could find. Sometimes that wasn't available or possible, especially in domain 8, which is the cultural competency, because it's a newer field. So there isn't a lot written on it. But they try to make as much open source as possible. But that'll give you a really good place to start. The reading list should be available. They're saying telling me about December of this year. So that's just good. The role delineation statement. Our role delineation statements, all of this is online. It'll kind of give you a good idea of the basic bare bones of the underlying for each domain. Kind of an idea for domain 6 and 7, which are management and legal. People tend to score lower because that's sometimes a topic you don't deal with. Each of you are at a specialized section. Very few people are lone rangers, and they do it all. So you're a processing archivist, you're a reference archivist, you're a preservation, you do digital. So find the areas, the domains that you don't do every day, or you feel that are a weakness. And I would focus on those as well. And then domain 8, because like I said, it's a new domain and it's a new area in our field. And there isn't a lot written on it, which is both a pro and a con. One, there isn't much written on it. But they are asking you a lot of questions that kind of cross over into the other domains in that area. Once you register, you'll be available to take the practice exam. These are just 50 old questions. They will not be in the exam itself, but it kind of gives you a feel for how the questions are written, and it lets you play around in the Prolidian environment. So you can flag things, and there's a notebook, and there's a clock. And so you can track it, or if that annoys you, you can turn that off. It kind of lets you get comfortable in the Prolidian environment, so you don't feel like you're being blindsided and being like, oh no, I'm being stuck in this app that I don't know how it works. Certification fee and maintenance. Okay, after you pass the exam, you're eligible to become to join the Academy of Certified Archivists. It's the certification fee, but it also covers your first year's tuition and so your dues, and it's $75, and it's due within 30 days of receiving notification that you've passed the test. The other thing is after you receive your certification fee, you need to continue paying your annual dues. It's one of the areas that people kind of forget. Oh yeah, I have to continue paying my dues. And you have to recertify every 5 years. So you have 5 years to get 60 CEUs, and certification maintenance is on our website, but they're also going to be having a salon in the next 4 weeks. They're going to have 2 different salons where they're explaining the recertification, because they're actually updating the recertification program this year. And so it would actually be a chance to listen to our Regent for Certification Maintenance explain how the recertification program works. So you can get it. They have it broken down. You could get professional experience, you could give a lecture, you could write a paper, you can volunteer, you can proctor an exam. Like there's a lot of different ways you can earn CEUs where you don't have to pay $250 for a class. You can volunteer, you can write. But they break it down into, you know, how you can earn CEUs and the different things you can do. And they can explain all of that. A lot of links I've added here. I'll have they'll send them out to you guys. But basically everything's on our website at the certifiedarchivist.org. All of our contact information is there. The role delineation, the reading list, this how to study, that kind of information is there. And that, I think, was it. Do you guys have any questions? No, there was a lot.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, there are two questions. One is more on scope and one is on the actual test exam. On scope, just how many certified archivists are there in the United States? That's one question.
I believe it's 1,150 right now.
And the question about the exam questions themselves, are they all multiple choice? Are they board type questions where, like, you know, 1 and 3 is correct, and 2 and 4 are correct, or all are correct, and you got all those choices? You make comments about a statement.
Yeah,
what type of questions?
They're all multiple choice.
So single answer.
Yes. And what they're looking for is best practice. So what they want to know is how well you did, how well you know the profession. They don't want to know specifically like, oh, well, like I said, I'm a lone ranger and this is what I would do in that situation. They're not asking you that. I went and when I took it the first time, I was looking at it as like, oh, well, this is what I would do. That's not what they're asking you. They're asking you what's best practice. What does the literature say is best practice in the field? So if you had endless oodles of money and staffing, what does the literature say is best practice?
Hi, Gina. I do have a question in the chat. Here's the question. Are we able to take the practice exam more than once?
You can, but it's exactly the same exam. Yeah, there's no limit on it.
Thank you.
Are there older versions of the exam that are available to study off of, or just the study guides?
Just a study guide. They don't have older past versions. So,
All right, thank you.
Because they do reuse the questions. They have this huge question bank and they reuse the questions or they'll kind of massage them. And so, yeah, they don't. And only when a question is completely retired do they put it on the practice exam, and they will never reuse that. They may reuse something similar on the same topic, but it'll be completely rewritten.
Thank you.
Hi, Gina, I do have another question in chat. This person asks, what is a passing score?
It fluctuates every year, and we don't ever give out the pass rate, but it's not like 95%. It's average.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, the domains, there are 8 domains. They're on our website. Hold on. If I can pull that up. I am playing with that. Okay, so yeah, there's 8 domains. It's basically accessioning, processing, reference, preservation, management, outreach, legal, and cultural competency. And then the link that I added in, it breaks it all down. I can't give you a range for passing. we don't ever give out the pass rate.
If I can ask, there's not, from the way that you're talking about it, I'm kind of so specializing in archive work, there's not a standard publication on what the standards are. So it's just you gain the information just from reading current literature as opposed to a published, this is what the standards are. They may be changing year to year. They're always changing. But there's no single publication per se for
Right.
this,
Right.
to be a certification.
Right. So what it is there's a reading list here. And so what you do is you look at each of the reading list, and then you go through it because they have it broken down by each domain. If you go onto the website, they'll list out, which of the readings you should be reading for each domain. And then they have this big chart will tell you which publications are, because some of them apply to several domains where they have it broken out. No, there is not one textbook to answer all of it because you need to have the depth and the breadth of the entire field of literature. Sometimes it's a journal article, sometimes it's a book.
I see. Thank you.
Mhm. Any other questions?
So Gina and Dina, if people would have later questions for you, how can they get in touch?
Yeah, I will add our emails. They're on our website too.
Will you provide all those links that you showed?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's the key.
Yeah. No, sorry, I was going to do that, but I'm on a different computer. So yeah, I'll add them all and have them send them out to all of you. Yeah, and you can just email if you have any questions. We get questions all the time about how to study and how to take the exam and different nuances. Professional differences between the high versus no, because no one will know but you. You pass. It's just to kind of let you know and to kind of break it up. And I don't do that. Our psychometrician does that, and he's blind to the result. Like there's no names connected. He's just looking at data.
Could you just briefly review again what the dates are for the March and what that is as opposed to the June, which is the actual exam?
March 1st to April 30th is when registration opens.
I got
So
it.
you register, and then once you're done, once you're registered, then you have access to the practice exam. And then we do is we send out where you can make an appointment for when you want to do the exam itself. We also do tech checks and kind of do a once over and help you with the technology checks is to make sure that you can get in with your computer, you can get into Zoom, you can get into Perlidian, and I kind of walk you all through that. That way you're not doing that the day of and going, oh my God, my computer doesn't work, or I can't get into Zoom. Or the big one that I have found is that people try to use their work computer and it will not allow them to give us access to put in the code. The other one is not having a camera, that you have to have a camera. And sometimes your computer doesn't have it or it doesn't allow it. I can't hear you, Heath. No.
The better is now logistics.
I think that's Dina.
So this is a frustration. I believe he's typing the question. It's like crossover right now. It's like in some ways I get it, but in others it's like we haven't been having these conversations in the city, right? So we're trying to get Tara. So Heath, did you have a question? Are you typing it in chat?
The only thing I could say is see if you can borrow it, interlibrary loan. Maybe somebody you know has some. Maybe you buy two, somebody else buys two, and you all share. Or most people have, or hopefully somebody you can borrow it from. As much as possible. Okay. Well, if you guys have any questions, just email me. I will send the links out to everybody, and then they'll send them out to you guys. That way you have them all. They're all, like I said, everything's on the certifiedarchivist.org site. So it kind of breaks it down on how to study. The reading list is there, the role delineation. It's all on their website. So
thank you both of you, Gina and Dina, for joining us today. And if people will have questions, I'm sure they'll get in touch. And thank you everyone for attending today's webinar.